The Milky Way was drowning in war. For over 7 centuries, two ancient powers waged a brutal conflict that spilled blood across star systems like a cosmic plague. The Chitauri swarm, an endless tide of insectoid warriors, devoured planets and shattered civilizations. Their enemies, the Varn Dominion, were cold machines, emotionless and relentless, harvesting worlds and minds with equal efficiency. Caught between these titans were hundreds of lesser species, caught in webs of alliances, betrayals, and extinction. The Galactic Council, once a beacon of peace, had become a fractured shadow. None dared to disturb the war, save for whispers of a legend, a world untouched, unyielding, and wild. Earth. Most believed it was a myth, a relic lost to time and forgotten by the stars. But out here, near the barren fringes of the galactic rim, a battered scout ship scrambled to send one final message. Its systems flickered as Chitauri fighters swarmed, tearing at its hull. The pilot's fingers danced frantically over the comms panel, sending a signal coded in a language long thought extinct: English. On Earth, the first alarm sounded in the United Terran Federation's command center. Captain Mara Vos stood frozen, staring at the flickering screen. The data streamed in raw and fragmented, but the signature was unmistakable, a transmission from beyond the solar system, ancient yet alive. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. This can't be. The coordinates they lead to. The Galactic Rim. It's a distress call. From who or what? Her second-in-command, Lieutenant San, adjusted the display, highlighting the origin of the signal. Unknown vessel. Last ping before disappearing within Chitauri-controlled space. Mara clenched her jaw. For centuries, Earth had hidden beneath layers of self-imposed isolation, cautious and wary after its near destruction centuries ago. The world had focused inward, healing, rebuilding, unifying. Earth's scientific breakthroughs, its dark energy, propulsion, advanced AI, and quantum weapons were kept under tight lock and key, deemed unnecessary in the absence of any known external threat. The BIS was different. The message was a call for help. Alert the High Council. Prepare the Leviathan, Mara ordered. It's time the galaxy learned we're not just survivors. We're fighters. The UTF Leviathan had been Earth's pride and secret. A battleship unlike any other, over 2 kilometers long, its hull forged from exotic alloys and reinforced by reactive armor, armed with railguns capable of punching through enemy fleets. For decades, it had orbited quietly around Europa, waiting. Now it was waking. Inside the ship's massive hangar bay, engineers hurried to power up the dormant systems. The silence inside Leviathan was heavy, a stark contrast to the buzz of activity above on Earth. Mara walked the deck in her uniform, functional, battle-ready, with a medal glinting over her heart. "Status report," she demanded as she reached the bridge. Commander Elon, a former space marine with cybernetic enhancements, nodded sharply. "All systems nominal. Dark energy core stabilizing. Weapons calibrated. We're ready to jump the moment you give the order." Mara's gaze shifted to the starfield outside the viewport, a silent expanse filled with distant suns and the promise of conflict. Good. This isn't just about rescue. It's a message. Earth is here. The galaxy's forgotten flame still burns bright. The first jump was disorienting. Time folded around the Leviathan like a shimmering curtain as the dark energy engines tore through space-time. Seconds later, the ship emerged at the coordinates of the signal, a shattered moon orbiting a dying star in a forgotten system. The scene was devastation incarnate. Craters scarred the landscape, cities lay in ruins, and in orbit, a swarm of Chitauri warships pulsed with malevolent life. On the bridge, tension crackled. Mara's eyes narrowed. "They're finishing the job," she said grimly. "We arrived too late." But then, An unspoken command rippled through the crew. "Prepare weapons. Target enemy fleet." Leviathan roared to life. Its railguns flared, cutting through enemy armor like lightning. Chitauri fighters spiraled in response, their insectoid. Screeches filling the comm channels as Leviathan's defensive lasers intercepted every attack. From the command consoles, tactical officers tracked damage reports. The enemy ships fell one by one, collapsing into the void. Below decks, the crew watched in awe as their ship unleashed fury. Among them was Ensign Rena Chun, a cybernetics specialist whose hands trembled as she monitored the battle. "Captain," she whispered into her headset, "this is unlike anything I've seen. They never expected us. They're terrified." Mara's voice cut through the static, steady and unwavering. "Good. Let them be afraid." Amidst the destruction, a faint transmission crackled through Leviathan's comms, a garbled message from the surviving colonists. "Thank you, humans, you're the light we prayed for." Mara felt something rare stir inside her hope. But not everyone in the galaxy welcomed humanity's return. Across the void, in the hive mind of the Chitauri swarm, an ancient queen pulsed with rage. Her war moon had been dispatched to hunt down this new threat, a single world that dared challenge millennia of war. Back on Leviathan, Mara made a silent vow. "We didn't come here to be forgotten. We came to remind the galaxy what it means to fight for survival and victory." The stars around them seemed to shimmer with possibility. Earth was no longer alone, and the galaxy had just met its match. The bridge of the UTF Leviathan hummed with controlled energy, the pulse of dormant giants waking from centuries-long slumber. Captain Mara Voss stood at the center, watching as the ship's dark energy core thrummed, a steady heartbeat in the cold vacuum of space. Behind her, the crew moved with practiced precision. Every officer, every technician knew the stakes. Earth was no longer just a blue planet spinning quietly in the void. It was the beacon of a new power, and the galaxy was about to realize humans were no ordinary species. "Status report," Mara commanded, her voice calm but edged with steel. Commander Elan's cybernetic eyes flickered. Propulsion systems fully operational. Dark energy engines ready for another FTL jump. Weapon arrays calibrated and tested. Tactical AI running at 99.7% efficiency. Mara nodded. "Good. We don't have time to waste." The first jump had taken them to the edge of known conflict, an unstable system where old colonies had been erased by Chitauri raids. The Leviathan's sensors picked up distress signals from a small mining colony orbiting a rocky planet. Its defenses were failing. Mining drones transformed into desperate fighters. As the ship slipped into orbit, Mara's mind raced. They were not here to liberate. They were here to send a message. "Deploy drone recon," she ordered. "I want eyes on that colony's surface immediately." The bridge's holoscreen flared to life, displaying jagged mountainous terrain dotted with industrial structures, now damaged and burning. The colony's population was a mix of minor species miners, engineers, families who had long forgotten what peace felt like. Suddenly, the sensors picked up movement. Thousands of Chitauri bioswarms emerging from their hive ships, swarming the colony's outer defenses. Their chittering filled the comms like static, a terrifying reminder that the insectoids were predators, not negotiators. Mara's fists clenched. "Prepare to engage. Weapons hot on my mark." In the gun base, the crew braced for the onslaught. Aboard Leviathan, Marines suited up in powered exoskeletons, their armor reflecting the cold blue glow of the ship's internal lighting. Among them was Lieutenant Kira Sois, a veteran from the Moon Wars, known for her fierce loyalty and unyielding resolve. Her voice crackled over the comm. "Ready for insertion, Captain. We'll hold the line until Leviathan clears the skies." Mara's eyes locked with the tactical officers. Make it count, Lieutenant. Lives depend on it. The battle erupted with brutal ferocity. Leviathan's railguns blazed like ancient lightning, piercing through Chitauri bioships with surgical precision. Waves of plasma torpedoes streaked through space, detonating inside enemy ranks. The ship's adaptive shields shimmered under constant assault, but held firm. On the colony surface, Kira's squad dropped from orbit in high-velocity pods, crashing through the atmosphere amidst flares and explosions. Their boots hit the scorched ground, and the fight became personal. Chitauri warriors swarmed like locusts, feral, unrelenting. Kira's Marines fired pulse rifles and flamethrowers, carving paths through the alien tide. The air filled with screams, human and alien. Kira fought with the desperation of a cornered wolf. Every kill meant survival. Every moment held the weight of countless lives. Back on the bridge, Mara watched through external cameras, her breath tight. "They're pushing hard," she muttered. "If we falter here, this entire system falls." The tactical AI pinged, highlighting incoming Chitauri reinforcements, massive biocruisers designed to unleash hordes of fighters. Mara's mind raced. The Leviathan's dark energy engines held an untested capability, a high-speed burst that could disable enemy fleets in seconds, but at the risk of overloading the core. "Commander Elon," Mara said, "prepare the engines for an energy burst. We hit their main fleet with everything we've got. No margin for failure." Elon's cybernetic eye glowed, acknowledged. Initiating power reroute. The tension was palpable. Seconds stretched as power surged through Leviathan systems. The ship vibrated, a controlled storm contained within a steel shell. Then, with a roar like a thunderclap, Leviathan released its energy in a blinding pulse. Enemy biocruisers erupted into flames, their hulls rupturing from inside out. Chitauri fighters were caught in the blast, torn apart before they could reach the colony. Cheers erupted in the command center, but Mara's gaze remained sharp. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "They'll come back harder." Later, as the battle's dust settled, Mara convened her senior staff in the war room. The holographic map showed their position, a tiny blue dot surrounded by danger. "Minor species like this colony are caught in the crossfire," Mara said. "If we want peace, we have to be their shield. But make no mistake, Earth is not here to be a martyr." Elon leaned forward. "We've sent a clear message. The galaxy knows humans are back, and that we fight with a ferocity no one expected." Science Officer Dr. Naomi Reyes interjected. "Our technology is decades ahead of anything the Chitauri or Varn have seen. But we can't rely on that alone. We need allies." Mara nodded thoughtfully. "Agreed. We'll reach out to the Galactic Council, though their power is waning. We need a coalition, or we risk becoming the hunted." That night, in her quarters, Mara stared out at the stars, the same stars humans had looked up at for millennia, dreaming of their place among them. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts, a personal message from Earth's High Command. The words were stark and chilling. "Warning, Chitauri Queen has mobilized a war moon. Destination, Sol System." Mara's jaw tightened. "They're coming," she whispered. The Leviathan's engines roared back to life, ready to jump. Captain Mara Voss stood tall, voice clear and unyielding. "Prepare for the next jump. We will not wait for them to knock on our door. We meet them head-on." The galaxy had just learned Earth was no myth, and humanity was awakening. The Chitauri High Fleet arrived like a dark storm, blotting out the stars. Leviathan's sensors screamed warnings as thousands of biocruisers poured from the folds of space, their jagged hulls teeming with chittering warriors. The fleet was a living nightmare, each ship a fortress of organic terror, pulsating with venom and death. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes burning with fierce determination. Around her, The crew moved with razor-sharp focus, every hand steady on their station. Battle stations. Mara's voice cut through the hum of the ship. This is not a drill. They want to wipe us out. We'll show them what humanity looks like when cornered. The first salvo hit with brutal force. Chitauri biocannons unleashed acidic torrents, sizzling against Leviathan's reactive armor. Shields flared, but cracks began to spiderweb across the hull. Explosions rocked the ship as fighter swarms clawed at its flanks. The Leviathan's point defense lasers blinked alive, cutting down incoming biodrones with lethal precision. In the war room, Commander Elan's cybernetic eye tracked enemy movements. Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Marines ready for boarding response. Mara's heart pounded. Boarding was the Chitauri's cruelest tactic, overwhelming the enemy with sheer numbers in brutal close-quarters combat. Deploy Marine Squads Alpha and Beta, Mara ordered. Hold the line. No Chitauri steps foot on this ship. Deep in the cargo bay, Lieutenant Kira Solis barked orders as her Marines sealed bulkheads and prepared for the worst. The air was thick with tension and the sharp tang of recycled oxygen. Listen up, Kira's voice rang out. They think we're weak because we're human. We're about to prove they're wrong. Her squad's communications crackled as bioboarding pods slammed into the hull. The ship shuddered violently. Through reinforced viewports, grotesque Chitauri warriors poured through breaches, fanged limbs tearing metal, acid dripping from claws. The Marines responded with volleys of plasma bolts and explosive charges, turning corridors into hellscapes of fire and blood. Kira fought with everything she had, shoulder to shoulder with her squad mates, every kill a battle won. But the swarm seemed endless. Back on the bridge, Mara weighed her options. The Leviathan's railguns and plasma cannons were devastating, but the swarm's numbers were overwhelming. If they lost the ship, Earth's last hope would vanish. Commander Elan, can we hold out long enough to perform a full-power recharge on the main battery? Mara asked. Elan's cybernetic eye flickered in thought. We can hold for 15 minutes, maybe 20. After that, the core won't sustain another overload. Mara nodded grimly. We'll have to make it count. Elsewhere on Leviathan, Ensign Rena Chen worked furiously in the engineering bay, surrounded by glowing consoles and the hum of quantum processors. Reactor stability at 87%, Rena reported to the chief engineer. I'm pushing the dark energy core to its limits for a burst of power, but the thermal load is spiking. Do it, the chief engineer said without hesitation. If we don't, this ship is lost. Rena's fingers flew across the interface. Warnings flashed, alarms screamed, but the core surged with raw energy. Back on the bridge, Mara stared down the encroaching swarm. Prepare to fire the main battery, she ordered. On my mark. Seconds later, the Leviathan's railguns charged, their magnetic coils humming with unimaginable power. Then, with a searing crack, they unleashed a blast that tore through the heart of the Chitauri fleet. Biocruisers exploded in cascades of fire and shards, their organic hulls rupturing from the concentrated assault. But the swarm wasn't finished. From the shadows, a colossal bioship emerged, its form grotesque and massive, bristling with tentacles and venomous spines. Mara's breath caught. That's their flagship, Commander Elan said quietly. If it goes down, the swarm will retreat. If it doesn't, we're in real trouble. The flagship advanced, launching waves of biomissiles that ripped into Leviathan's armor. The bridge shook with each impact. Mara's voice was steady. Focus all fire on the flagship. Divert power from engines to weapons. We end this now. Minutes stretched into eternity as Leviathan's weapons locked onto the monstrous vessel. Finally, the railguns fired again, two titanic blasts searing through the flagship's biohull. The creature roared in agony as it staggered, its systems failing. In response, the Chitauri launched their deadliest assault, yet a boarding pod crashed into Leviathan's primary hull, shattering bulkheads and flooding the lower decks with enemies. On the corridors below, Kira and her squad fought desperately to repel the invaders. She moved like a storm cutting down Chitauri warriors, setting explosive traps, rallying her marines with fierce cries. "We're not dying here," she shouted. "For Earth, for the Leviathan." One by one, her squad fell, but they held the line. When the final breach was sealed, the silence that followed was deafening. On the bridge, Mara allowed herself a breath. The Chitauri flagship was crippled. The swarm was retreating, but the cost was written in blood. "Damage report," Mara said quietly. "Hull integrity at 62%, Elin replied. "Marines report over 50 casualties. We're lucky to be alive." Mara closed her eyes briefly. "Prepare for emergency. Repairs and medical triage. We'll regroup and get stronger." Later, in the ship's medbay, Mara visited the injured. Faces grim, bodies broken, but spirits unbroken. Lieutenant Kira, bandaged and weary, caught Mara's gaze. "We made them bleed," Kira said, voice hoarse but proud. "That's a start." Mara smiled faintly. "It's more than that. It's a warning." As Leviathan limped away from the shattered battlefield, Mara stood once more on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead. The galaxy was waking to Earth's power. The battles would only grow fiercer, but so would humanity's resolve. The Leviathan had barely limped away from the shattered battlefield when new challenges loomed, this time not from alien fleets, but from within the galaxy's fractured political web. Captain Mara Voss stood in the command center, eyes locked. On the communications console, the faint glow of incoming transmissions was a flicker of hope amid the storm. The Galactic Council, a once powerful body now crumbling under centuries of war and distrust, had finally answered Earth's call. The holographic emblem of the Council flickered and resolved into the weary face of Ambassador Elian Saurus of the Erythrean Confederacy. Ah, species known for their icy diplomacy and centuries-old grudges. "Captain Voss," the ambassador's voice was measured, cold as the void. "Your arrival has shattered centuries of complacency. Earth's Leviathan is a formidable force, and your battle against the Chitauri has not gone unnoticed." Mara held her gaze steady. "Ambassador Saurus, we did not come seeking praise. We came seeking allies. The Chitauri swarm threatens us all. If we do not unite, every world will fall." Saurus's lips curled into a thin smile. "Unity is a noble goal, but many in the Council fear your sudden emergence. Earth was once considered a backwater, isolated and irrelevant. Now you wield power beyond reckoning. Some question your motives and your methods." Mara's jaw tightened. "Earth's motives are simple: survival. We fight because we must. We do what is necessary." Saurus's eyes narrowed. "And what of the Varn Dominion? They watch your every move with suspicion. They do not take kindly to humanity's rapid militarization." The screen went dark, leaving the Leviathan's crew in tense silence. Commander Elin turned to Mara, his cybernetic eye glinting. "We've entered a new battlefield, Captain. One of politics and shadows. We must tread carefully." Mara nodded. "Prepare for diplomatic outreach. I want envoys ready to open channels with every major faction. The Council, the Varn, even the less savory players." Meanwhile, in the Leviathan's war room, Science Officer Dr. Naomi Reyes pored over censored data. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, mapping Chitauri and Varn fleet movements, political alliances, and trade routes. "Captain," Naomi said, "the galaxy's balance is fragile. The Varn Dominion is consolidating power on the opposite rim. They see Earth as a threat, and a possible ally of the Chitauri. Neither side trusts us yet. Mara paced, thoughts racing. We need intelligence, more than just weapons. We need to understand who we can trust. Elsewhere, in the shadows of the Galactic Council's chambers, whispers echoed. Senator Valen Reese of the Varn Dominion was a man of cold calculation, his every word measured to instill doubt. Humans, he said to his allies, have awoken from their slumber. Their battleship disrupts the fragile balance of power. We cannot allow them to dictate terms. We must act decisively before they grow too strong. His allies nodded, their faces grim. A conspiracy was forming, a web of intrigue and betrayal that would threaten the fragile peace of the galaxy. Back aboard Leviathan, the atmosphere was thick with urgency. The ship's crew prepared for their diplomatic mission, but combat readiness remained paramount. Mara knew the line between war and peace was razor thin. Late at night, Mara stood alone on the observation deck, gazing at the stars beyond. Ensign Rena Chun approached quietly, her voice hesitant. "Captain, do you ever wonder if the galaxy is ready for us?" "For Earth?" Mara looked at the young officer, eyes softening. "We didn't choose to be ready or not. We are here, and we will shape the future by force or by diplomacy." Rena nodded slowly. "I just hope we're strong enough." Mara's gaze hardened. "We will be, or we will die trying." As Leviathan prepared to jump to the next diplomatic rendezvous, an encrypted message arrived, this one from deep within Chitauri space. It was a single phrase, chilling and clear. "The Queen commands. Crush the Terran flame." Mara's fingers tightened around the console. "The war isn't over," she said grimly. "It's only beginning." Asterisk. The Leviathan glided through. The cold silence of deep space, a solitary titan carrying the weight of Earth's hope and the galaxy's fear. Captain Mara Voss stood at the forefront of the ship's diplomatic wing, preparing for her first official meeting with representatives of the Galactic Council. The war room was alive with whispered strategies and nervous anticipation. Every creak and hum of the Leviathan felt amplified, a reminder that the fate of millions hung on their success. Commander Elon approached, his cybernetic eye scanning. Encrypted transmissions. "Captain, we've received word from the Erythrean Confederacy and the Aquari Alliance. Both factions are willing to attend the peace summit under strict conditions." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Conditions?" Elon's voice was grim. "They want assurances, weapons demonstrations, technology sharing, and a guarantee that Earth's Leviathan will not dominate the negotiations with military force." Mara's jaw clenched. "We can't give away our advantage, but we can't scare them off either." The summit took place aboard the massive council flagship Aurelia, a floating palace of sleek design and diplomatic intrigue. Representatives from dozens of species filled the grand chamber, their diverse forms casting strange shadows in the ambient light. Ambassador Elian Soros greeted Mara with a curt nod. "Captain Voss, welcome to the heart of the fractured galaxy." Mara responded with measured respect. "Ambassador, I come bearing a message and a warning. The Chitauri swarm and the Varn Dominion threaten us all. We can survive only if we stand united." The room buzzed with murmurs. The Varn delegation sat rigid, their cold, machine-like expressions unreadable. Senator Valen Reese observed silently, eyes calculating. Over the next hours, negotiations unfolded like a tightrope walk. Mara presented Leviathan's technological breakthroughs, dark energy engines, advanced AI combat systems, and quantum weapons with measured restraint. The goal was clear: demonstrate strength but foster trust. Some factions were cautious, others openly hostile. An Aquari envoy whispered to Mara, "Your power is unlike anything we've seen, but your rapid militarization frightens us." Mara met their gaze steadily. "We militarized because we had to. We don't seek conquest. We seek survival and peace. But peace must be backed by strength. Behind the scenes, political currents swirled dark and deep. Senator Reese met privately with a shadowy figure, an agent of the mysterious Varn intelligence network. The humans are dangerous, Reese said coldly. If the Council bends to them, our grip on the rim weakens. The agent nodded. We have assets ready to sow dissent. We will turn their own allies against them. As the summit progressed, Mara received a covert transmission from the Leviathan's tactical AI. Captain, unidentified vessels detected near the Sol system. Signature matches Chitauri war moons. Estimated time to arrival, 72 hours. Mara's heart tightened. They're coming for Earth. She stepped outside the conference hall, eyes scanning the endless stars through the Aurelia's viewport. The weight of the galaxy rested on her shoulders. Earth was no longer isolated, but exposed and vulnerable. Back on Leviathan, preparations shifted into high gear. Lieutenant Kira Solis drilled her Marines, intensifying training and fortifying ship defenses. The atmosphere was tense but resolute. We fight for more than survival, Kira told her squad. We fight for our home and for everyone who can't fight for themselves. Late that night, Mara convened a private meeting with her closest advisors. Diplomacy is a battlefield of its own, Mara said, voice low. We must be vigilant. The Varn Dominion's shadow grows darker, and the Chitauri Queen will not rest until Earth burns. Science Officer Dr. Naomi Rios pointed at the star charts. We need to unlock the Leviathan's full potential dark energy bursts, advanced AI tactics, even experimental weapons. But it's risky. Mara nodded. Risk is the price of survival. As the Leviathan prepared for the coming storm, Mara sent a message to Earth's High Command. The galaxy awakens. We stand at the edge of war and alliance. We will fight. We will survive. We will prevail. Her voice was resolute, a beacon in the dark. Outside, the stars held their breath. The gathering storm was coming, and Earth's battleship was ready. The Leviathan's engines hummed with renewed power, the ship limping through space toward the Sol system as dark clouds of war gathered on the horizon. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes narrowed as the sensor arrays tracked the approaching nightmare. The Chitauri war moon loomed ahead, an enormous living fortress, a grotesque hive on an orbital collision course with Earth. Its organic hull pulsated with malevolent energy, spawning countless fighter pods from gaping maw-like ports. Distance to War Moon, 40,000 kilometers. Commander Elin reported, voice tight. Estimated time to arrival, 12 hours. Mara's jaw clenched. Alert all units. Prepare for full engagement. We cannot let that monstrosity reach Earth's orbit. Below decks, Lieutenant Kira Solis readied her squads. The corridors of the Leviathan thrummed with anticipation and adrenaline. Marines checked weapons, loaded plasma rounds, and ran through tactical drills. This is it, Kira said to her team, voice low but fierce. They think they can break us. They think Earth is weak. We're going to show them what humanity is made of. Her squad responded with a unified shout, steel in their eyes and fire in their hearts. On the bridge, Mara studied the holographic display. The War Moon was more than a ship. It was a city of war, bristling with bioweapons, shielded by layers of living armor, and commanded by the chilling voice of the Chitauri Queen herself. Suddenly, sensors screamed alarms. Incoming fighter swarm, Elin warned. 3,000 pods approaching Vector 317. Mara's voice was calm but commanding. Open fire. Target the swarm. Focus on the lead groups. Leviathans. Weapon systems unleashed a deadly ballet of plasma bursts, railgun slugs, and energy beams. The swarm hit the shields with relentless fury, but the Leviathan's defenses held firm. The battle erupted in space with breathtaking violence. The Chitauri fighters darted like insects, their bioforms twisting and weaving through the Leviathan's firestorms. Explosions blossomed in the void as Leviathan's point defense systems shredded enemy pods. But for every fighter destroyed, more poured forth. In the chaos, boarding pods detached from the war moon, hurtling toward the Leviathan's vulnerable sections. Mara's heart pounded. Marines, brace for boarding. All hands to repel invaders. Deep in the ship's corridors, the battle turned savage. Kira's squad engaged the alien invaders in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Acid spatters hissed against the walls as plasma blades clashed with bioclaws. The metallic scent of blood and burnt circuits filled the air. Fall back to bulkhead. 7-9, Kira ordered. Seal the section. We hold or we die. One by one, Marines fell, but the human line held firm. Back on the bridge, Mara faced another nightmare. The war moon's bioshield shimmered with unnatural resilience. Leviathan's conventional weapons were struggling to breach its defenses. Commander Elin, any progress on the dark energy burst? Mara asked. Elin's eye flickered with urgency. We're stabilizing the core for a high-yield pulse, but it's a gamble. One wrong move and the core could destabilize. Mara's expression hardened. We have no choice. As the fighter swarm thinned, the Leviathan surged forward, closing in on the war moon. Its engines blazed, ready to unleash the experimental weapon that could change the course of the battle, or doom them all. Power to weapons at 120%, Elin announced. Mara took a deep breath. Fire when ready. The Leviathan's core roared, releasing a massive burst of dark energy that tore through the war moon's shields like a scythe through silk. Hive's hull convulsed, cracks spidering across its bioarmor. Explosions erupted, and the Chitauri fleet faltered. But the Queen's voice echoed across the void, a chilling, resonant hiss of rage and promise. You may cripple my swarm, Terran, she hissed, but I will return, and your world will burn. The Leviathan limped back, battered but victorious. On the bridge, Mara allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. Asterisk. The silence after the storm was heavy and suffocating. The Leviathan drifted near Earth's orbit, its battered hull scarred by the battle with the Chitauri war moon. The glow of distant stars seemed dimmer, as if the universe itself held its breath. Captain Mara Voss stood on the observation deck, staring at the fragile blue planet below, the only home humanity had ever known. Behind her, footsteps echoed softly. Commander Elin approached, his cybernetic eye reflecting the faint shimmer of Earth's atmosphere. We won the battle, Elin said quietly, but the cost was high. Casualties number in the thousands. The ship's systems are stretched to their limits. Mara nodded, her expression somber. Victory that nearly kills us isn't a victory. We'll repair, regroup, and prepare. But the war isn't over. In the ship's medbay, Lieutenant Kira Solis moved among the injured, her face hardened by exhaustion and grief. Tell me who's stable, Mara asked, stepping inside. Kira gestured to a cluster of bunks. The wounded are holding, but we lost good people today. More than I ever thought we would. Mara's eyes swept the room faces, pale but alive, eyes flickering with pain and hope. We fight so they don't have to, Mara said softly, and so they live to fight again. Meanwhile, the political landscape and the Galactic Council was shifting. News of Leviathan's brutal strike against the Chitauri war moon rippled through the chamber of the Aurelia. Some hailed Earth as the galaxy's new protector. Others whispered of dangerous arrogance. Ambassador Alien Saurus called an emergency session. Captain Voss's actions have altered the balance of power. Saurus declared, we must decide whether Earth is an ally or a threat. Senator Valen Reese of the Varn Dominion seized the moment. The humans wield weapons capable of mass destruction, Reese warned. They act unilaterally, risking galactic peace. We cannot trust a species so reckless. The room erupted in debate, alliances forming and fracturing like quicksilver. Back aboard Leviathan, Mara's communications officer interrupted. Captain, an encrypted message from the Varn Dominion. They request an immediate conference. Mara frowned. Put it through. Senator Reese's face flickered to life on the screen, expression cold and unyielding. Captain Voss, Reese began, your reckless assault has forced our hand. The Varn Dominion will increase military presence along the Sol System border. Consider this a warning. Cease your aggressive expansion or face consequences. Mara's response was firm. We defend our home. The Chitauri threaten all life. If the Varn choose conflict over cooperation, they will find humanity prepared. Reese's eyes glinted with icy menace. So be it. As tension escalated, Dr. Naomi Reis presented a sobering report to Mara. Our experiments with the dark energy core show potential for increased power, Naomi explained, but at a cost. Prolonged use risks core instability and possible catastrophic failure. Mara's gaze hardened. We can't afford to hold back, not now. In the quiet moments before sleep, or whatever passed for rest on the Leviathan, Mara reflected on the cost of their survival. She pulled out a small, worn photograph, a family smiling under Earth's pale sun. We fight for them, she whispered. Outside, the stars seemed colder than ever. The galaxy's eyes were on Earth and the Leviathan. The price of victory had been paid in blood, and the true war was yet to come. The Leviathan floated in Earth's orbit, scarred but unyielding, a sentinel watching over a fragile world. The distant hum of repair drones filled the cavernous decks as the crew labored to restore the ship's battered systems. But beneath the surface, tension simmered like a storm waiting to break. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of stars beyond the viewport. The Council's divided response to their victory was unsettling. But what truly weighed on her was the ominous silence from the Chitauri swarm. Then, the alerts. Came multiple sensor arrays, detected an incoming fleet on a trajectory toward the Sol System, moving faster than any known technology allowed. The Chitauri Queen's warning was no empty threat. Captain, Commander Elan's voice was steady but grave. This is no ordinary assault. They've mobilized a coalition fleet. The Varn Dominion has joined forces with the Chitauri. Their combined strength is unlike anything we faced. Mara's eyes narrowed. The galaxy's dark shadow is closing in. Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations. Below decks, Lieutenant Kira Solis rallied the Marines, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Prepare for boarding and planetary defense. This fight is not just ours. This is Earth's reckoning. The crew moved with practiced precision, but Mara knew the Leviathan alone could not face this storm. At the council chambers aboard Aurelia, Ambassador Elian Saurus and Senator Valen Reese argued bitterly. If Earth falls, so does the galaxy, Elian insisted. We must unite, Reese sneered. Unite under whose banner? Earth's? No, we face an existential threat together, or we die divided. The council fractured, unable to summon the unity Mara so desperately sought. In a desperate gamble, Mara sent an encrypted transmission to every known faction beyond the council. Enemies gather at our doorstep. The Chitauri Queen and the Varn Dominion form a deadly alliance. We must stand together or perish alone. Responses were slow, fragmented, but some answered old rivals, former enemies, now united by the threat of annihilation. The battle erupted in the void. The Leviathan led the charge against the coalition fleet, its weapons blazing a deadly trail. The swarm of Varn ships and Chitauri biovessels crashed against the Earth, battleship's defenses in a fury of explosions and plasma. The Leviathan's experimental weapons tore through enemy lines, but the sheer number overwhelmed even its formidable strength. Amid the chaos, Mara piloted the ship with razor-sharp focus. She knew the key to victory lay not in brute force, but in disrupting the Coalition's command network. Commander Elin, deploy the stealth drone swarm. Infiltrate their flagship and disable their communications. Elin's cybernetic eye glowed. On it, Captain. As the drone swarm slipped through the battle's fury, Mara led a small strike team aboard the Coalition's flagship via boarding pods. The halls of the alien warship were a nightmare of biomechanical terror. Mara's team fought relentlessly, hacking and sabotaging as alarms blared around them. At last, they reached the command core. Uploading virus, Mara said, fingers flying over the alien console. The flagship shuddered as communications flickered and died. Back in space, chaos reigned among the Coalition fleet. Confused and blinded, their ships faltered, giving the Leviathan and its newfound allies the opening to strike. The tide of battle turned. In the aftermath, the shattered remnants of the Coalition fled into the dark. The Leviathan limped back to Earth's orbit, battered but victorious. On the bridge, Mara allowed herself a rare moment of relief. "We held the line," she said quietly. "But the galaxy has changed forever." Commander Elin nodded. "Our enemies won't forget. Neither will our allies." Mara's gaze returned to Earth, shining like a fragile jewel in the void. "We will rebuild," she vowed. "Not just Earth, the galaxy. Together." In the council chambers, Ambassador Saurus and Senator Riss met privately. "The humans have earned their place," Saurus said. "For now." Riss's expression remained unreadable. "The galaxy watches and waits." And on Earth, as the sun rose over battered cities and hopeful faces, humanity prepared for the long road ahead. The Leviathan was no longer just Earth's battleship. It was the galaxy's shield.